Welcome to the Dominate Your Niche podcast with me, Ruth Ferreira. Here we chat to some of today's best small business leaders, individuals who are shaking up their industry and dominating their niche. The show tackles all things business growth, from strategy, marketing and branding, and delves into the secrets of what it takes to dominate your niche. The aim of this podcast is to empower founders with big dreams, small and micro businesses, and even solopreneurs who are looking to make a big impact. People who are hungry to learn from those who have gone before them and implement that knowledge to next level in their own business. So welcome, lean in, and then go take action to propel yourself towards dominating your niche in your small business. Welcome to the latest episode of the Dominate Your Niche podcast with me, Ruth Ferreira. Today, I am so excited to introduce you to our first guest expert, Nathan Simmons, for a deep dive into imposter syndrome. Nathan is a powerful mix of trauma-informed hypnotherapist and leadership coach. He has over 16 years of experience in the corporate space as a trainer and coach, and 5 years doing the deeper one-to-one work, specializing in self-sabotage and inner child healing. He's spent his life trying to understand why people do what they do, navigating his own mental health challenges. He's experienced crippling anxiety and depression, along with extreme addictions of all shapes and forms, as well as healing an autoimmune condition. You name it, he's seen some aspects of it. He knows imposter syndrome and he knows how to help others move through and beyond it. In this powerful conversation, we went really deep into imposter syndrome. What it is, who it affects, and how do we see it manifesting? Does this matter? Do we need to be dealing with this? How does it hold people back? And what can we do about it? How can we overcome it? We looked at the symptoms of imposter syndrome: people-pleasing, perfectionism, and procrastination. We looked again at the 5 archetypes and also look at the triggers that tend to bring out imposter syndrome, things like audience, environment, and the significance of an occasion. We looked at the things that it's going to impact, generally our health, our wealth, and our relationships. So in short, everything. A powerful, deep, and super, super valuable episodes that honestly, I hope every single person listens to. Hi, Nathan. Welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thank you, Ruth, for having me. It's a real pleasure to be here.
Oh, it's a pleasure to have you. So, Nathan, as you know, this episode was inspired by the massive response I had from, I think, my first or second solo podcast episode on imposter syndrome. And the irony is, I actually don't know a huge amount on imposter syndrome. Like, I have enough basic knowledge to coach on it, but pretty much everything I shared was the extent of my knowledge, which I was very open about. The great thing is you know a lot more. So we've brought you on today as an expert just to dive a little deeper, to share more and help people to really get their head around this thing that it affects pretty much everybody in some degree or other.
Yes. 100%.
Love it.
100%.
Love it. So for those of our lovely listeners who have not yet listened to anything on imposter syndrome, what is it?
The short version of imposter syndrome is it's the belief that you don't have the skills to do what you're doing.
Interesting.
When in actual fact, you probably do have them, and you probably have even more of them than you give yourself credit to.
Love that. Love that. And what isn't it?
It isn't something that actually cripples you or holds you back. Like most people will kind of, when they're looking at things like procrastination, etc., they'll look at it as, oh, I'm a bad person. I can't get out of my way. Oh, I'm tripping myself up. But actually, it's not what people think it is. And what it actually is, it's a safety mechanism that stops you from stepping outside of your perceived known world or your comfort zone. And it's a protection mechanism to hold you back. It kind of, just holds you back rather than kind of completely stops you. It keeps you in that safe space.
Really interesting. So this is obviously from back in the day, caveman times, where we were hunting for food. There were predators out there. and it's this kind of historic hangover in our brains.
100%.
And it's trying to keep us safe.
Yes.
But actually there are not many predators out there anymore, not in the same way. We don't need to worry about tigers and all that jazz.
No, not in the same way, but that part of your brain that developed hundreds of thousands of years ago is still part of your brain now. So that part of your brain still believes that saber-toothed tigers exist.
Okay.
So 100,000 years ago, you were in your cave and there are 14-foot high kangaroos and wombats the size of small cars. Okay. This is actually a thing.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Right. So and you go, oh, I'm hungry. So I need to now step outside of my cave and go and get nuts and berries. But I need to seriously think about, is this what I need to be doing right now? Because a 14-foot high kangaroo is actually pretty terrifying. Okay.
Yeah.
And by the way, I'm not just making it up. They did actually exist. Okay.
Yeah. And for those of us who work in the metric system.
Yeah. Oh, in the we're looking at about, 3 feet to a meter approximately.
Okay. So it's pretty fucking big.
It's pretty fucking big. It's like 6 to 7 meters tall, and the abs on that thing are unreal. I wish I had abs like this. But so you go, do I want to go and pick these berries? Do I need to really feed my family? I'll second guess this. Do I really? Okay, and now I'm kind of aware of it. So that part of your brain that is still alive at this point in time, in the era that we live at, there is no food shortage. You're not going to go short at winter. There isn't going to be a saber-toothed tiger that's going to eat your children, right? There isn't this. But that part of your brain still rates a job interview and a saber-toothed tiger at the same level of stress.
Wow. That's crazy, isn't it?
It is crazy, but it's just the way that our brain works. But then we go, oh, well, what if? Or will someone think less of me if I get that job? Will Bob in my team think I'm an arsehole because I'm now his manager? Or what if I don't get the job? Will my wife think I'm a complete idiot and, not capable because I didn't get the job? And then we end up kind of umming and ahhing and not taking any action and doing nothing. And then that is your imposter syndrome kicking in, turning into procrastination and people pleasing and perfectionism.
Interesting. Okay. So who gets affected by imposter syndrome?
Pretty much everybody in one way, shape or form. So when they started doing the research, I think it was in about 1978, only women got imposter syndrome.
Oh, bloody hell.
100%. It's the same as like women weren't allowed to ride bicycles or vote, etc. It's the same bullshit that goes with this, right? But only women got imposter syndrome because men couldn't admit to that.
Yeah, how charming.
100%, like completely ridiculous, right? But then they did research, I think it was 4 years ago, in the kind of at the beginnings or the middle-ish of the pandemic situation. They surveyed a cross-reference of men and women, and 96% of those people said that they experienced imposter syndrome of some way, shape, or form.
Wow, 96% of people.
At some point, you will doubt yourself. You will not believe you're capable. You'll get anxiety about a job interview or creating a new product or going self-employed or doing whatever it is you're doing as an entrepreneur or as a leader. And you will second guess yourself to a point where you will not take that leap because that part of your brain says you can't do that.
Wow. So how many people do you think are dramatically holding themselves back in life because of imposter syndrome?
Crikey, how many people have got mental health challenges? How many people have got addictions? How many people are struggling with relationships or not feeling like they're adequate enough?
Wow.
I mean, that's a lot. I mean, I don't have a number for that. You've got 8.3 million people.
Yeah. As a percentage, are we talking
about 98%? Probably.
Well, what about this other 2%?
Well, I'm sure that there are times when the Dalai Lama starts to question himself, and like Desmond Tutu, etc.
Oh my goodness! I actually reckon they more than others are like, how did I get here? What's going on?
Every now and again, they have to have a blink of realization.
That moment of
100%. But when you're looking at all the people out there that have got mental health diagnoses, addictions, phobias, it shows up in so many different ways. But how many people are kind of listening to the voice of their inner critic and not taking action because the voice in their own head said, this is too difficult, that's too hard?
Gosh. Yeah.
But yet most people won't admit to that voice, or that they're questioning themselves, or that they maybe have a mental health challenge in the background, because they're too busy listening to the voice in their head and looking at everybody else and going, yeah, but everybody else has got their shit together. It must just be me. But in truth, everybody else is thinking exactly the same thing and no one's talking about the problem.
Oh my goodness, it's so interesting. I see this coming up so much with my clients, like in my masterminds, especially. The amount of people that say, oh my goodness, I'm so relieved it's not just me. And
100%.
you think these are some of the best people I know.
Yep.
These are like top of their game, small business owners who are smashing it. And they think they're the only one who's struggling with, yeah, or they're relieved to find out they're not the only one who's struggling.
There are only so many stories that we can run, variations of the story, but then we dress it up in different outfits, different people, different diagnoses, different outcomes, etc. We think, oh, it's just me. Oh, I did that, therefore it's unique. I can't get help. But that's part of the pattern that keeps you in that story. It makes you think you're the only one and you can't tell people, because what if they think less of you? What if you then get perceived as not good enough? So it keeps you in that idea of the fear of not good enough and the fear of losing love. So you say nothing and just stay in the echo chamber of your own head.
It's lonely there.
Terrifyingly lonely. Loneliness is probably the biggest problem that we have on this planet right now. You can stand in a room with 1,000 people and you can still feel lonely.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So I think we've already covered a lot of this, but why is imposter syndrome a thing? So it's just that hangover from early man, or is there more to it?
There's more to it. So the
Okay.
hangover from the early man bit, yeah, 100% is there. We're inbuilt with this. It's evolutionary. We have this in our system to keep us safe. And as our brain has developed over the years, from the amygdala, the primordial parts of the brain, through to the neocortex, we still have those parts of the brain. But then the stuff that doesn't get dealt with, the things that we experience, I mean, this is we're going to have to go there and have this conversation. In short, the things that we did and didn't get as children in the way that we needed it in that moment, then turn into our habits and behaviors when we get older. And it's
Okay.
no judgment on anyone's parents. It's just the way things happen. Sometimes
Mhm.
it's a parent, sometimes it's a teacher, sometimes it's a grandparent. It's a figure of authority that we're looking up to.
Mhm.
Between the ages of 0 and 7 normally is where we start to create our morals, our principles, our ethics, etc.
Mhm.
I'm not a biblical person, yet the Jesuits 2,000 years ago said, you give me the boy until the age of 7 and I'll show you the man.
Wow.
Because they knew up until the age of 7 the brain frequency was on record.
Wow. And as somebody with a 7-year-old, that is alarming. The foundation has been built.
Foundation's been, it cannot be changed. There is a foundation there to work on. There's already a huge amount of them that's already there, but then there's also the other stuff that we can add into it. Now, that
Okay.
time that you said you were going to take your children to the football match and you didn't, and they get upset, that's going to be encoding. The parents that got divorced and they're waiting for dad to come home and he's never coming home again. The parent that have gone to see action as a veteran and they've died in action or whatever, and that child is still waiting for me. It makes me emotional thinking about it.
Mm.
But these all have huge influences in what's going on. But even the small things that we do, now it doesn't, there is no big or small trauma in floating speech marks. It's
Hmm.
these are the experiences we have.
Hmm.
That moment where you lost your mum in the supermarket and that moment of terror kicked in and it was more than kind of 10 seconds, like, where's my mum? That has an imprint.
Gosh. And I have to say, as if I'm quite short, by the way, you've probably noticed this when we've met in person. I'm like
Yes.
not quite 5'2". I like to round up, but I'm not quite there. I always lose people in shops. And it's that moment of panic. So yeah, I wonder how that's influenced me.
And there are these small
Interesting.
moments. Yeah, there's these small moments where a teacher said something to me at 6 years old, and that completely changed the way that I interacted with the
Mm.
educational system.
And we don't even necessarily remember these moments, do we? But they're imprinted in our
We, rem-
coding and they're showing
yeah,
up later on.
yeah.
So interesting. So how do you see imposter syndrome manifesting for people?
The manifestation part of it is normally in kind of your big 3 Ps, and that are people pleasing, perfectionism, procrastination.
Okay.
Those are the core ones. But then when you're looking at things like addictions and phobias, etc., they also play out in that way. Anything that distracts us from actually showing up in who we can be. because it might be perceived as too much. Maybe you were too excitable as a child and a grandparent shut you down, so you don't do that anymore. Whatever it might be, it shows that didn't get what you needed from your mum, so you became a people pleaser, etc. These are kind of the traits, or sorry, the symptoms more. But the 5 key traits we have is like we have the 5 archetypes of the imposter. So Dr. Valerie Young, I think it was. Yeah, Dr. Valerie Young.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, about the 5 archetypes of the imposter. So you have the perfectionist, someone that's always in analysis paralysis, quibbling over the details, not able to accept compliments. Like you can tell a perfectionist when they can't accept a compliment. That's super kind of on point. Okay.
Interesting.
Then you have the soloist. So this is extreme independence. And these people may have had ideas stolen from them or worry that ideas will be stolen from them. They'd rather work on their own in silo. They don't want to talk to people. They don't want to have their work scrutinized. And they'll push people away to get peace and quiet. And then you have what they call the natural genius. Now, the natural genius tends to be the one that was told, well, you're the intellectual one, oh, you're the strong one. And they only stick in their area of expertise, but don't step outside of it. And you may see people that are very, very qualified, but they've been doing the same job for 10, 15, 20 years, just so they can say they're good at that and they can lord it over other people, but never go for a promotion. And then following on from that, you have the expert. So these are the people that feel underqualified and are always seeking a new accreditation to gain validation. Now, 15 different degrees, 15 different certificates in this, and they've got enough certificates to wallpaper their house. But still don't feel enough.
And you know, I'm seeing people, so many different people in all of these, and bits of myself. And
yes.
And what's the 5th one? Is there another one?
Superhero type.
Oh, fun. With a cape?
Well, they're the only, it can, well, they feel like you're going to, just put your pants over your trousers and save the day, right? But
I was just going with a cape, but okay, we can do the underwear thing.
But this is like the overworkers. So they will turn up before their boss turns up, an hour before. They will leave 2 hours after. They think they have to do more hours in order to validate why they're doing work and why they're getting paid and why they're getting promotion. But that's that thing is, if you want something done, you always give it to a busy person. But the problem is, especially with the overworker, is you're making it harder to get promoted because you're now doing the job of 1.5 people. So if they remove you, now it's more expensive to replace you. So you start to see how it's kind of like a catch-22.
Yeah, 100%.
So these are the 5 core ones. But again, it's like you may have a preference to one of them, or you may kind of dabble and touch into each of them. Yeah. And they come out at different times as well.
And will all types of people fit within these?
In different places, different ways.
Okay.
So for me, there's 3 things that really bring out different types of imposter. So the first one is the audience, who you're hanging out with. Do I feel insignificant? Do I feel like I've got something to prove? Do I feel like I'm under pressure? It's almost like the junior partner presenting into the C-suite the first time. It's like, oh my God, I'm going to die. Have I worn the right socks and done my flies up? That sort of thing. And we lose sight of what it is we're actually delivering.
I'm getting so much insight into you today. I'm loving this.
But there's their natural thoughts that go through her head. It's like, have I had a mint? Did I do this? Is my tie straight? Have I still got salad in my teeth?
Yeah.
And instead of actually, hold on a minute, what am I actually presenting here, and what am I sharing with these people?
Yeah.
So the audience of who we're talking to, the environment also has a huge part in this as well. Am I outside of my known space? Am I delivering to a different department? Am I in a networking group for builders when actually I'm a dentist? It's that sensation of feeling like an idiot. If you measure a goldfish by its ability to swim a tree, it will climb a tree, it will always feel like an idiot, like Albert Einstein was saying. So environment has a huge thing. Like, do we feel like we fit in? Do we trust who we are to fit into this space? Huge questions around this. And then the third element to this is the amount of importance that we put on it.
Okay.
The more significant we make it, it's like, it's got to be like this. I have to be like this. It's got to deliver this. And if it doesn't do any of those things, this is going to be wrong. My universe is going to collapse and everyone's going to hate me and I'm going to be a failure. And the more important it is to you, the more pressure you put on it. And the more pressure you put on it, the more likely it is to collapse.
Wow.
Yeah.
And do you know what's really interesting is this is all stuff in our head, isn't it?
Where is it anywhere else?
Yeah.
Because where did you put the importance? Show me importance.
Yeah.
One of my teachers recently said to me, he said, show me overwhelm. So I'm sitting there freaking out about the amount of things I've committed to and what somebody said, show me overwhelm. And I was like, well, I've got all these things to do. And he said, that's just a pile of paper. But I've got all this and that's just a list of things on your computer. Show me overwhelm. And I was just like, it's all in your head.
It's the feeling, isn't it?
And it then turns, the thought turns into a feeling, which then turns into an action or an inaction.
Yeah.
Which then compounds the thought that you already had. So it's just kind of keeping you in the vicious circle, not even in a virtuous loop or a virtuous dynamic. It's just like, here's proof.
Love that.
Here's your shopping list. Go looking for proof. Oh, I've got proof. I'm a failure. Brilliant.
Are you ready to grow your business this year? Join me for Supercharge Your Month, a 60-minute clarity and strategy workshop to reflect, plan, and get super strategic to make your growth dreams a reality. The first Tuesday of every month at 10 a.m. for just £97, or free if it's your first time. My gift to you. Book on now via the show notes. See you there. Okay, so this leads me perfectly on to our next question.
Yes.
Does imposter syndrome matter? Like, is this something we should be dealing with?
Yeah, 100% we need to be dealing with it, because 99.9% of the time, that voice in your head that tells you can't do it is not even your voice. It's somebody else's opinion. You dressed it up as your voice because that was, well, you've heard someone else say it a lot, or you heard someone say it in a moment, or believed it in a moment, and then it became your voice. It's like, in order for me to survive, I have to play by this set of rules. But how does that help? Does that actually help you, or does it hold it there? And this is an interesting one. There is no such thing as self-sabotage.
So I'm getting quite emotional thinking about the impact this has on people.
Yeah.
Like I've got a little tear in my eye, because I'm thinking about the number of people who are not, gosh, you can tell what I'm passionate about, not achieving their potential.
100%.
Because some other dickhead somewhere along the line,
Yep.
maybe out of love, has said something that has become this voice in their head that is holding them back throughout their life.
And it's just a story.
Wow.
We make up this idea of something happens that you can't be that. It's not safe to be that. So then you make up a story, which is basically your theory, your story to survive. So you be something else, but that's built on not being able to be something else. So it's already built on hollow foundations. And then we go off in life trying to prove ourselves that we are this, that we are the smart one, because we couldn't be that thing over there. So you see, it's got this hollowness to it, this emptiness, fragility to it. So then as you start to explore it, it's like, well, okay, that thing that you're doing is protecting you from the emotions that it wasn't safe to feel in that moment. So you create this new story to play along with, and off you go in life. But the truth is, you still have this hollowness inside of you, which is then being compounded by being a superhero, by getting another qualification, by being a perfectionist, but never ever fully stepping into your full capacity.
Wow. So give me some examples of how is it holding people back, like real, like tangible things that you've seen in some of the people you've been working with.
Yeah, some of the things, is people not going for the job interview.
Just like full stop, not even trying.
Not even trying, but then making excuses as to why they're not doing it. People showing up and shouting at the kids, being upset with the kids. It's like, I'm constantly shouting at my kids. I don't understand why. Okay, so where's this coming from? And exploring, because actually they don't want to be a certain way, or they don't want to have a certain connection. They don't want to be seen as the loving parent, because actually they didn't get that love from their parents. Even in that level. How else is it showing up? People believing that they're in senior leadership teams, that they're not supposed to be in those meetings.
Wow. So it's career, it's relationships, it's literally everything.
Health, wealth, and relationships are your big three.
Okay.
But even though, looking at leaders, but then it comes out as aggression, it comes out as frustration, it comes out as upset. And if it doesn't come out there, it comes out as self-medicating. Do you know what? I'm a perfectionist, I'm struggling with this, but to actually deal with that is too much. So I'm going to have a glass of wine, or two or three every single night, just to deal with the job that I'm doing in the daytime.
And that's then impacting their health,
their wealth, and their relations.
Gosh, everything.
everything.
Bloody hell. Okay. So it does matter. We do need to deal with it. Does everyone need to deal with it?
Everyone, I think yes, and most of the time,
Ideally, but most people aren't.
most people aren't. But then when you get into the nuts and bolts of it, is most people aren't. Most people are too afraid to go there and floating speech marks because they think it would be too much to process, or whatever it is, or they've used what they've got out of the back of it to create a world where it appears they're super successful, they're earning lots of money, but causing a lot of damage to the world, potentially in their organizations or in their organizations,
and in their own lives.
And in their own lives. I mean, the nicest possible way, we look at the kind of the big people that are the billionaires, your Elon Musk and your Jeff Bezos and your Donald Trumps of the world at this point in time. And you look at them, but then when you scratch beneath the surface, like what's actually going on in their lives? What's actually going on in their childhood? What didn't they get from their mums and dads? Oh, and now they're showing up like this, which is a version of imposter syndrome and denial and rejection of what they didn't get.
Wow. So literally, imposter syndrome shapes everything in everyone's lives.
The layer behind that is what we didn't get as children is what shapes our lives. The imposter syndrome is actually just a symptom.
Yeah. Okay. It's the symptom. Thank you for that. Okay. So what can we do about it? Like, how do we, I'm going to say overcome. That feels like a big words for something that shapes our lives so much. But how can we at least start to deal with it, this imposter syndrome?
First one is to be aware of it and just say, okay, actually, I've got these sensations, I've got these belief structures. Hold on, I'm looking at my life patterns and something's off. When I look at some of this stuff, there's 3 H's. If it causes physical harm, emotional hurt, or holds you back, that's an indication that something's going on.
Okay.
And then you can look at the 5 archetypes. It's like, which archetypes are actually showing up? Is it the perfectionist, the genius, the expert, the whatever? How am I showing up that's causing any of those 3 things? And then you can, okay, I've got this going on. The first step you can do is just ask yourself some better questions.
Like what?
Well, the first thing that we often do is like, oh, why can't I get my shit together? Why me? Why can't I do that? Why did I get overlooked? And we go, why? Brilliant. Okay. Well, the interesting thing is with the why question is when I ask people, what was the first person in your life ever to ask you a question beginning with why? The answer 99.9% of the time is always a parent. And what was the reason they asked you that question? Because I did something wrong. Yeah. And then you go, well, what's the next person after that you remember asking you a question beginning with why? Teacher. What's the reason? Because I've done something wrong. And then you go, you've got the first 16 years of your life, at least, depending where you are in the world, of kind of programming that if you get asked a question beginning with why, it takes you back to being 3 years old and being told off by your mum for drawing on the wallpaper. So, but this is kind of.
I laugh, but it's true.
But it is true. Yeah, 100%. It is true. And then we do it to our kids, and then we wonder why they then become defensive and all those things. And even if you ask a 35, 45, 50-year-old, you go, why are you late? Or why did you do that? Instantly, they become a 3-year-old being told, and you get justification and excuses. And it's the same thing with kids.
Yes.
So what we do is we create objectivity to create a deeper access. So we ask what to find why, never why to find what. And what I mean by this is we use
thanks for this.
it's good. So what we do is we ask questions that begin with what, not why.
Okay.
So we take the judgment or the fear of judgment out of it and create objectivity. Now, by the way, just if you add an expletive like "what the fuck are you doing," that also doesn't help. Okay?
Does that not help?
No.
Swearing at people's not
generally in this situation, no. But so when we're speaking to ourselves, it's like, okay, what do I need to do differently? What question can I ask myself to move forward? And with all of these things like the perfectionist and so on, it's just like, what questions can we ask to kind of explore that? So where does it come out most? I mean, in most of these ones, when we're looking at the imposter, that first question is, where does it come out most? What environments, what audiences? When does it get triggered? With whom is this showing up most frequently? And like these are the core 3 questions that kind of, how's this showing up? Who is it with? What audiences? What environments? And then we can get into those 3 key things. But then it's just like with the perfectionist, what can I celebrate in everything that I work on? So finding the thing that's worth celebrating in that, so you can actually take a note of it, going rather than going, well, I don't know what I'm doing. Well, here's some validation. Here's that left part of your brain.
Love that.
Yeah, and even like with the soloist, what great skills, support, and mentors do I have in my network? Who do I have around me that can help me do what I need to do rather than pushing them right? And how do I have a conversation with them?
Amazing.
Because the truth is that questions create focus. The better the questions, the better the connections, the better the outcomes. And the questions that you asked create the day that you're gonna live. So if
That's
you're
amazing.
so if you're asking why me, you're going to get 57. Like, why are you so unhealthy? Oh, because you don't exercise, you eat shit food, you want Netflix. It's going to give you an answer no matter what you put in. But if you say, what do I need to do in order to get excited about exercising? Different answer.
Yes.
So we need to kind of play tricks on our brain.
Ask better questions
To get better.
And actually, this is probably the perfect point to tap into. You as an expert in this area, you work with people on this all the time, don't you?
All the time.
All the time. In fact, so we've done some work together, and I think one of the earliest things we worked on, possibly the first thing, was imposter syndrome.
Yes.
And you went down a hypnotherapy route. Is that something you do with most of your clients to help them with this?
Again, yeah, the majority of them is I have a nice, powerful mix of leadership psychology and leadership training, which is my original background, but I've always studied psychotherapy, always studied NLP and coaching and different frameworks. And then 5 years ago now, qualified as a hypnotherapist, predominantly looking at what we did and didn't get as children. And it's never as bad as people really think it is. And it's always better than you can ever imagine it. But it's like, as the adult, taking ownership for that little part of you and shifting that narrative inside of your head.
And it's amazing how quickly that shifted. Because I remember just literally that one, I think 90-minute session.
Yes.
And it was like flicking a switch in my brain.
Like a light bulb goes on.
Yeah, really powerful. And
this is kind of the beauty of it, is that part of your brain that still kind of operates the imposter, still operates the kind of the protective mechanisms, the people pleasing, etc., is great, it's powerful, it's looking after you, but it doesn't know you've grown up. So it's running the business of the inside of your head on a standard operating procedure that was written by a 4-year-old, if you're lucky, and then you're wondering why your life isn't achieving the levels that you wished and hoped it would do.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Fascinating and fabulous all at the same time.
I love it. I love it. So for those people in here thinking, oh God, there's hope, there's things you can do, and you have kindly offered a free resource to anyone listening to this. Can you tell us a bit about that and how our listeners get their hands on it?
Absolutely. So there's actually 2 things I'm going to share on here. Just another one popped in my head. One is there's a really great handout that I created, which is the 5 archetypes of the imposter. So it shows you and it teaches you kind of all the stuff that I've been sharing here, and then gives you a list of questions, like a journal, like a PDF journal that you can work on with the right questions to help you shift out of those imposter dynamics, and get more clarity on who you are and how you can show up in the world.
Amazing. And what's the other one?
And the other one is actually, they're on my website. If you sign up, you get access to 4 weekly recordings. So every week you get a recording, primarily focusing on anxiety and overwhelm and kind of the overthinking, which we often do when we're in the imposter. But each week you get a recording, 45 to 50-minute hypnotherapy journey that can help you to rewire your brain.
Wow.
Completely free, to your inbox, as a powerful resource.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
So we'll put that specific link in the show notes if you ping that to me.
100%.
And the other one, what's the best way for people to get that?
Hit me up on LinkedIn. So you look for Nathan Simmons. I think it comes up with Nathan Simmons, the leadership coach. You'll see the reasonably good-looking guy with the glasses and the beard and the
beard, salt and pepper.
Yes, very much these days. More salt than pepper at the moment, right? But it's like go on LinkedIn, Nathan Simmons, the leadership coach. Message me, and I will send you that PDF, 100% gratis, just to help you out. And otherwise, you just find me on nathansimmonscoaching.com, and you can sign up for that 4-week program. It's there to help people.
Oh, that's amazing. That's so generous of you. Well, Nathan, thank you so much. For those of our listeners just looking to come into your world and get to know you, I'm guessing LinkedIn's the best place.
Yes. Yeah. For the professional kind of side of things and the one-to-one work, come and find me on LinkedIn.
Amazing. Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure.
Thank you.
thank you for listening today. If you like what you hear, please hit subscribe and leave us a review. Even better, come connect with me, Ruth Ferreira, on LinkedIn and Instagram. I'd love to get to know you.